Good morning. Thank you so much for starting your day off with us. Yes, Dan Alstrand is taking a couple of weeks off, filling in for Todd Veinotte, so I'm here to keep the ship afloat until then. On today's show, to kick things off, we're going to be joined by David Valentin from Liaison Strategies. And David's going to help us break down the latest political poll in Nova Scotia. While the Progressive Conservatives continue to hold a significant lead province-wide, the landscape in Halifax is telling a bit of a different story. So we'll get David's insights on the current political climate, the regional divides that perhaps are becoming more apparent in the province as well. And then after that, we're going to check in with dog trainer and dog behavior specialist Bob Ottenbrite to discuss the very tragic situation out in southwestern Nova Scotia. He's going to walk us through what leads a dog or dogs to find themselves in the situation that we saw down that way. So we'll check in with Bob Ottenbrite on dog behavior. We're going to turn our focus to parks and protected areas later on with Ray Plourde from the Ecology Action Centre. Now, Ray is going to be here to talk about the recent concerns that were raised after remarks from Natural Resources Minister Kim Masland suggested that the conservation areas in this province could be soon facing development pressures. How do we strike a balance between development and preservation? And Ray is going to share his perspective on those challenges ahead, the importance of safeguarding our natural spaces for future generations. We're also going to be looking at an eye-opening report from the Fraser Institute on government sector compensation in Atlantic Canada. And according to their findings, government workers in the region are earning on average about 6.3% more than those in the private sector. So is the public sector paying too much for wages, or does the private sector need to step up? Jake Fuss from the Fraser Institute will join us to discuss what this means for taxpayers and the broader implications for public sector wages and benefits. Then at 11 a.m., we are going to throw open the phone lines for an open hour of conversation from you and whatever is on your mind. Now, usually on a Tuesday, we would wrap up with Science Files, but Dr. Rob Thacker is feeling a bit under the weather this week, so we'll give him this week off. We'll check in with him next week, and instead we're going to chat with Doug Jones from Ignite Atlantic about new support that's available for entrepreneurs out in Cape Breton. We're also going to speak with Allister Aalders, to just sort of check in, see what January has in store for us, or at least the rest of the month. And then also a conversation with the Citadel High boys hockey team. They are getting ready for their third annual Pride Night. But first up, the political landscape is, becoming increasingly dynamic here in Nova Scotia. Recent survey from Liaison Strategies has revealed some fascinating findings about the current state of voter sentiment in the province. Premier Tim Houston's Progressive Conservatives continue to maintain a commanding 19-point lead on ballot support. But the numbers are telling a different story in Halifax. Here in the capital, the NDP has surged ahead with a 40% to 31% lead over the PCs, and that's raising some questions about regional divides. Joining us today to break down the results, what they mean for the future, is David Valentin, who is the principal at Liaison Strategies. David, thank you so much for joining us this morning to have this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, listen, the survey has shown that the Progressive Conservatives are leading province-wide, 19-point margin. But this is a much different picture in Halifax, where the NDP is in the lead. Can you walk us through what might be driving this regional divide?
Well, this is a trend that we've seen across Canada. And, it's taken a while to make its way eastward. But when we look at the situation in Alberta or Saskatchewan, for starters, urban cities, lots of support for the NDP, but outside of those urban areas, the other parties do really well. In Alberta, that's the Daniel Smith's Conservative Party, and in Saskatchewan, that's the Saskatchewan Party led by Premier Scott Moe. So we're seeing this trend of urban versus non-urban come into play here in Nova Scotia. And what's interesting to me is that not only is the NDP leading in Halifax, but the PCs are effectively tied with the Liberals for second place.
Wow.
So even though they have this big 19-point lead in the province, because of the way the regional breakdowns work out, they would actually lose some seats if an election were held today.
So now you said that this is a trend that sort of started elsewhere in Canada and is finally making its way east. What do you think causes the split in opinion between, in this case, it'd be Halifax and the rest of Nova Scotia, but between the urban and rural divide? And full disclosure, as a previous city councillor, we certainly saw that around the table, the urban and rural divide. But what is causing this split in opinion in your perspective?
Well, it's a whole host of things, including the fact that life can be very different, right? Media consumption can be different. Access to healthcare is different. Access to housing is different. There's, different realities between living in Halifax and living in Cape Breton or living in Yarmouth. So, as we look up at the way the government prioritizes issues, sometimes, urban voters can feel ignored. But a lot of the time, I think it's just that there's different monetary pressures. And so as we are seeing, when we get to the later part of the survey, different population groups are telling us different issues are being handled differently by the political parties. Yeah. So some of the differentiation is really coming to play here.
And, you're speaking about issues, housing affordability seems to be a key issue for voters in Halifax, with the NDP leading the PCs on this front. How significant is this issue in shaping the political dynamics for the region? And do you see this continuing to be a driver?
Well, I think for the NDP, they've been able to make a mark on this issue in the city. And the question for me is, housing is not just an issue in Halifax, it's an issue all across the province. Can they take what they did in Halifax and bring it to the rest of the communities, right? I think that's one question they sort of have to address. For the premier, he sort of has to look at these numbers and say, okay, this is a real concern. It's costing me some votes. What could I do to alleviate this issue in Halifax? One interesting thing for me is we took a look at the premier's approval rating, and we also asked people, is the province moving in the right direction or the wrong direction? 38% of people are saying they disapprove of the premier, and 41% are saying the province is going in the wrong direction. And when you compare that with the voter numbers, with the premier's party having 50% support, there are people voting for him who think that he is not doing a great job and who think the province is moving in the wrong direction. They just don't like the alternative.
Yeah. I mean, in one of the findings in the survey, 57% of Haligonians said that they felt the province was heading in the wrong direction, but 62% of those surveyed in the rest of the province felt it was heading in the right direction. So, what does this stark contrast say about the mood in this province and the challenges that are going to be faced by the current government?
That's a really striking figure, and I think it really lays out the difficulty for the NDP, because if they can't change those numbers outside of Halifax and before the next election, this is where they have to make up ground if they're going to compete in more seats.
Also, according to the poll, Premier Houston was found to be trusted to handle health care with 51% of the vote. But Claudia Chender from the NDP is certainly gaining ground in that area, and especially on housing. How do you see this balancing act between healthcare and housing issues affecting the way things play out, and especially the party dynamics that we're going to see in the coming years?
So healthcare is really interesting because this is the one issue we don't see a regional split on. And so you can look at that from two ways. You can look at it from the perspective that the premier is outperforming on the healthcare issue, since he's been able to draw it even Steven in Halifax. Or you can look at the issue and say there really isn't enough information from the other parties about what they would do. And as a result, he's getting the benefit of the doubt on the issue. What's interesting to me is as the leaders sort of try to define which issues they're going to be strong on, it's almost like each leader got a little bit of the pie. So for the premier, he's doing well on healthcare relative to everything else. For the NDP leader, we're seeing Claudia Tender, we're seeing she's doing very well on housing. And then if you look at the scores for Ian Rankin, he's not doing so well in this survey. They're in third place, the Liberals, but he performs a lot better when you ask people, which leader would have the best relationship with the federal government. And part of that may be because there is a Liberal prime minister.
True.
Some people might be saying in their heads, well, maybe it would go better if we had a Liberal premier in that respect.
So what you're seeing is that the name recognition is outperforming the party recognition.
Exactly.
And do you see evidence of the Liberals starting to build back after the last provincial election?
Not in this survey. I wouldn't say that. I think they have a long road ahead of them if they want to be contenders. But that's the way that this goes, right? We've seen this all across the country. Some parties do very well for a long time. Sometimes they implode, and then they have to rebuild. And as we saw with the federal Liberals, it's possible. They went from third place to first place with the former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and then people said that they were certain to lose, and Mark Carney came in and rejuvenated them into a win.
Yeah. And do you think that, things will start to improve for the Liberals once they have a permanent leader on board, once they go through that leadership campaign process?
Well, I think that will be up to them in terms of who they choose and whether they can choose someone who really resonates with the population, who is able to make a splash in the media and put forward some ideas that people are going to think have common sense and could be enacted. It's not just about putting things forward that people might like. People also have to believe that you could actually do it, right? In order for it to have an impact. So we'll have to see who they decide to elect. But I think once they have that permanent leader, they've got two things. One is they've got this liability. Do the other political parties try to define that person before they get a chance to make their mark? And the second is they have that upside. With a permanent leader, they can begin recruiting candidates. They can begin introducing that person to the communities. And if they do that successfully, then I think you're going to see the numbers shift quite a bit.
Well, as you say, they only have one chance to make a first impression.
That's it.
Yeah. What do you see as the most critical battleground for both the PCs and the NDP as we move forward? I mean, is Halifax going to continue to be that pivot point, or are there other areas where you're seeing shifts in opinion that could make a big difference?
Well, I think for the NDP, they sort of have to see how they can grow this out to other smaller cities. And I think for the Conservatives, they have to sort of see if they can win back their support in Halifax and put this little fire out, right? And this is the question: is the NDP going to get the oxygen to grow their vote, all across the province and communities big and large? Because they can succeed in Halifax tremendously, but there's a limit on how many seats Halifax has. So you can't just form a provincial government if you win the majority of seats in Halifax and you're losing everywhere else.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's the question. And for the PCs, listen, this is a very good survey. Even though they have these issues in Halifax, if an election was held today, I would say it's a 99% chance with these numbers they would form a majority government.
Would they keep supermajority?
It's a big majority, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We'd come down to individual candidate strength and riding. And listen, sometimes the individual candidate can outperform the party by quite a bit and manage to hold on. But, they would lose some of their colleagues in Halifax, but they would still have a big majority government. Not the worst news to wake up to.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for getting us started here this morning. This is David Valentin, principal from Liaison Strategies. David, thank you so very much for joining us to unpack this recent polling.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right. Thank you. It is 10:14, and we're going to take a quick break right now. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And welcome back. Well, in Shelburne County, communities there are still reeling from the tragic dog attack that claimed the life of a 13-year-old boy late last week. RCMP are continuing their investigation into exactly what happened, but the conversation has certainly shifted towards calls for, stronger animal ownership laws, better protections for families and neighbors. The municipality of Shelburne has come out and said that they will be reviewing its dog control bylaws as a result of this tragedy. And to help us understand a bit more about, dog breeds, certainly this incident has raised the question about breed bans once again. And to, just share his expertise with us, we're joined this morning by Bob Ottenbrite, who is a dog behavior specialist and owner of Lietash Canine Academy. Welcome, Bob, to the show.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, listen, it is so good to be talking to you again. I wish it was under better circumstances, but listen, can you help us understand what typically leads to aggressive behavior in dogs, especially large breeds like those ones involved in that attack down in Welshtown?
Well, Lisa, any dog can be aggressive. I mean, there's even been reports of smaller dogs causing death and a lot of injury on people. So it's not really a breed-specific thing, but if you've got a large dog or any dog at all, a lot of the responsibility is on the owner. An owner should never leave their dog outside, unattended, even in a fenced area. If there's a way to get out, the dogs will get out, and it's important to have a safe and secure area of confinement even when you are there. The obedience training is very important, and it's not just with treat training, which has become so popular as of late. Mm. You have to train for real-life situations and lots of repetition, and the dogs have to learn without even any hesitation to come when they're called, to down instantly, to stay, and a good command is leave it. So whatever they're going for, if you say leave it, they know they're not supposed to touch it.
Wow. And that takes, it's a lot of work. I mean, you have to put in the time and the effort.
It is a lot of work, but you should have fun while you're doing it. And if you incorporate play in with the training, it will actually simulate real-life situations. So if you have things like you play tug and get the dogs to, release when they're wound up, and tag where you're chasing the dog, or a flirt stick or a flirt pole where the dog chases a little object, and then you get them to respond to commands, they're already in that prey drive, and that way you get to control it. If a dog is stimulated for protection or a prey drive, coming back for a treat isn't going to cut it.
Right.
They're going to do what instinct tells them to do, but if you've got the control and they're used to getting wound up and listening to you, it makes all the difference in the world.
I mean, the basic bottom line is that any dog can be unpredictable, and that's what you have to plan for.
Exactly. Always plan for the unexpected, and overtraining with lots of repetitions. And of course, a big thing is socialization. Yeah. A lot of people think that if they socialize their dogs by letting them play with a couple little dogs, that's not socialization to its fullest extent. They have to meet a lot of people. They have to go to a lot of different environments. If the dogs do not get properly socialized, then they see things that they're not familiar with as threats. So the socialization also builds the dog's trust in their humans.
And can that socialization take place at any age, or, if is it a case of it doesn't happen in the first year, then it's not going to happen?
It's harder if the dog gets older.
Yeah.
You should start them when they're very young puppies, as soon as they arrive home, and you continue that. It's important to continue heavy socialization for at least the first 18 months of life.
Wow.
And by then, the dog should have a good idea how to behave in different circumstances, what is a threat, what is not a threat. And as you said earlier, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
But take the dogs with you. They're part of your life. Let them enjoy themselves.
So I guess, some Nova Scotia towns have tried to implement dangerous breeds, the bans. We've heard it out west as well in Ontario, but there hasn't been a lot of success. I mean, there have been challenges both with legislation and just the practicality, the logistics of trying to implement this. Do these bans work? Are they even worth pursuing?
No, I don't think they are, because that is then punishing the responsible owners. And everybody has a particular breed of dog that they really like. And we do have a lot of Cane Corsos and Rotties that come into our kennel. They are well socialized. We have no problem with them. They're happy dogs. The people have taken the time. And the people who take their time with the dogs to train them and socialize them should not be punished for the people who don't care.
Yeah. And so now, from the point of view of a behavior specialist, do you see or can you think of laws or any regulations beyond bans that could be more effective to reduce, opportunities for these types of situations, these types of attacks?
Well, the breeders should be keeping in contact wherever you get the dogs from, and they should be a little bit responsible as well. Make sure that they go to good homes, have checks on them every once in a while. Not just everybody can breed a dog. They have to make sure that they go to responsible homes. And sometimes certain breeders will just breed to make money, and they don't care where the dog goes. We have the philosophy when we used to breed is that the dog is your responsibility for its entire life.
Mm. And now, it's, and I guess the other piece of it too is some folks just shouldn't have, stronger. I mean, if you're not physically able to control your dog, then perhaps that's an indication that you're not the right owner for that dog.
Exactly. There's, a lot of people will look at a dog and they'll think, oh, geez, they're cute puppies, but they don't realize that as they get older, their behavior can change. The maturity brings different traits out, protective traits, and you have to have either the frame of mind, the personal constitution, or the physical ability to control these dogs. Yeah,
because not breaking any news here, but not all dogs are physically the same. And part of the conversation we had yesterday on the Open Hour was, physically a larger breed dog has a lot more power behind those jaws than, say, a smaller breed dog, and so the results, can be tragic as a result.
Well, exactly. So people have to know their own limitations and don't get a dog to protect you, per se, if you cannot control the dog. So an out-of-control dog, and I do see this, an out-of-control dog is a danger to everybody concerned. So you've got to spend the time training the dog. Now, I have seen some people who are physically not as strong as you would think that they would be, but they have very strong personalities, a very strong presence, and even large dogs will respond to them.
All right. So listen, what practical advice would you give dog owners and families to minimize risk?
Training, socialization, and enact situations where you think that the dog is going to get wound up, and then have the dog listen to you instantly. And if you say something, you want your dog to respond immediately, not when they feel like it, not to take their time to do it. Dogs travel very, very quickly, and their mind works very quickly. So you've got to have the control. And no matter how big a person you are, whether you're an adult or, a teenager or a young child, you cannot stop a dog if they decide that they're going to go at you. You look at dogs that are used in the military. They can take down a full-grown man.
Wow.
that's army fit, and not a lot they can do about it. So, but these dogs have been trained to do that, but the average dog, and especially if you get 3 of them, that's when the prey drive kicks in.
Right.
And
really, it only takes one dog to get in that zone, and then the rest of them just pile on.
Yep. And if you behave like a prey item, you will become a prey item. So if you are confronted with dogs, no high-pitched screams, keep your voice low and calm, which is, of course, difficult to do, or silent. You have to watch the dog. Do not run. You can back away slowly, and usually dogs that come out from a house are protecting their territory, and they have a perceived distance where they no longer feel as though they have to protect that territory. So once you're out of that, if you have backed away sufficiently, they'll turn around and go. But the thing is that you have to know where these dogs are.
Yeah.
Avoid these areas. If you have to, you can pick up a stick to keep the dogs at bay, or any object will do. Hold a piece of clothing in front of you, which then sometimes will confuse a dog because they can't pinpoint on where they're going to try to bite, and it's like a curtain in front of you. So all of these things, are in effect.
All right, listen, we'll have to leave it there for now. Bob Ottenbrite from Lietash Canine Academy in South Rawdon, thank you so much for starting us off this morning.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, you take care.
You as well.
All right, it is coming up to 10:30. We've got a news break with Blake Priddle on deck, and we will take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Thank you so much, Blake, for getting us updated there. It is 10:36, and next up, we have Ray Plourde from the Ecology Action Centre, and he's here to talk about a pretty passionate post that the Ecology Action Centre shared on social media just around Christmas. It was critical of the Houston government's stance on potential development within Nova Scotia's parks and protected areas. And, I mean, these areas are meant to be safeguarded forever, but the government has indicated some openness to development in some of these protected lands, and that's something that Ray and the Ecology Action Centre are strongly in opposition to. Ray, thank you so much for joining us today. We're eager to hear your thoughts on the implications of this policy.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. It's nice to hear you on the radio again.
Hey, nice to be back for a little while. So in the recent social media post, you expressed concerns about the government's openness to development within parks and protected areas. Can you expand a little bit on what this could mean for Nova Scotia's natural environment?
Right. So for the past roughly 30 years, governments of all political stripes have been working towards getting to a 20% commitment, which is part of the national commitment of 30% land and water protection. It's part of a United Nations treaty, global treaty. All nations are on board and committed to the 30% target. 20% is what Nova Scotia has committed to, and as our part, we're a small province with a lot of developed lands and private lands, so it's a reasonable target, ambitious but doable, and part of, like I say, a global effort to stem the tide of biodiversity collapse, which is happening apace worldwide. Recently, in recent months, the new natural resources minister and the premier have signaled and said that they're open for potential developments in any protected area anywhere in the province for any potential private actor to do private development. Now, development is precisely and exactly what protected areas protect those areas against.
Exactly.
So it is completely wrong-headed and incorrect, and would start to undo decades of slow, steady progress. On top of that, this government has really slowed down in the last couple of years progress towards meeting that 20% commitment. We're roughly at 14% now, so 6% more is needed. But in the last 2 years, they've only protected 0.023% of the province. And at this rate, it's going to take till 2026 to protect 20%. And then if they start undoing protections, well, it could take forever or not be reached at all. This government committed in their 2021 election campaign to reach 20% by 2030 and to accelerate the pace of designations. And they made no mention in that election or the last one in 2024 about opening up protected areas to potential private development. So they seem to be going in the wrong direction in a hurry. And lost in all of this seems to be Environment Minister Tim Holman, whose responsibility it is to reach this 20% commitment. And in the last couple of years, he's delivered very little new protected land, and he seems to be lining up behind these recent statements about considering deprotecting areas. He's not being a very strong leader. This requires cooperation between his department, Environment, and the new Minister Kim Maslin's Natural Resource Department. And as far as I can tell, going on, there's a lack of leadership. It seems dysfunctional. And this is a government that prides itself on saying it gets things done, more faster. And yet, in this regard, the minister seems to be quite weak and unable to move forward the agenda that he's responsible for to reach that 20% protection.
But what would you say to those who would, push back on that and say, but housing, we need the housing?
Well, most protected areas are in roadless natural areas far from human habitation. So I don't think that houses is at all the issue. I think more to the point is this government has been cleaving very closely to the mining and forestry industries, and they've had a long-standing lobby against protected areas, particularly with forestry. The forestry companies have been advocating for years that rather than actually select relatively large natural roadless patches or roadless to the degree possible in this province, we have a lot of roads, dirt roads, logging roads, et cetera, to protect those. And so the issue is more about resource extraction with this government seems to be, on speed forward, so to speak. Yeah. And listening to those industries, I've got a very bad feeling that in the very near future, the government's either going to say, oh, we can't meet our targets, we're not going to do that, even though it's legislated, in law to do so under the Environmental Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act that this government brought in 2021, or they're going to do what the forestry industry keeps lobbying for, which is don't protect any more new land, just simply count things that already exist that are not really protected as if they were. In other words, to either not meet the goal or to do so under fraudulent means.
Sounds like a shell game.
Yes, and I'll give you an example. So the forest industry for over 30 years has a requirement, a regulation under law to not harvest, or rather to leave 20-meter buffer strips along streams, rivers, wetlands, and so on. Mm-hmm. That mechanism was put in place over 30 years ago, primarily simply to filter runoff from the land before it reaches these water bodies to try to preserve their water quality, which is an increasing issue. They would like those 20-meter buffer strips to be counted as protected, but they don't actually provide any benefit to biodiversity, and they don't actually prevent harvesting. The industry can still harvest up to half the basal area, meaning half the trees. So it's still an area where resource extraction is done. It's just that it is not a complete clear cut right to the banks of the river. And that has nothing to do with biodiversity conservation. If the industry wants to count buffers along streams, rivers, wetlands, then those buffers would need to be expanded to at least 100 meters so that wildlife could use them as connectivity and habitat corridors. But 20 meters with half the trees removed, many of which blow down afterwards, are not serving any biological purpose. They're just there for water filtration. So it's just one example of the kind of things that the industry would like the government to count so that they can just, as you say, a bit of a shell game and say, oh, look, we're done, and we didn't have to protect any more Crown lands.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the government is punching in high production forestry and other forestry harvests into areas that are being proposed by citizens groups around the province, like Goldsmith Lake and Chain Lakes and Beals Brook and Ingram River, essentially appearing to be trying to block those areas from getting protected.
Mm. So you mentioned that, the government just isn't standing up for these protected areas. Finally, what does standing up look like to you?
Well, proceeding ahead quickly with nominating new areas and putting them forward for protection and then getting them protected in the next 5 years. And the other thing is to update and strengthen the Provincial Parks Act so we don't have any more of these situations where, foreign billionaires are requesting private development in our provincial parks. Some of these are the most iconic places for Nova Scotians and our tourism industry. And in recent years, we've seen foreign billionaires try to get a hold of Owl's Head and West Mabou Beach 3 times, both of them provincial parks, long-standing, that are meant to be protected in perpetuity. And this government is seemingly open to deprotecting areas for that purpose. What we're saying is the Provincial Parks Act needs to be strengthened so that large terrain altering developments like, giant resorts or golf courses or amusement parks are made clear in the legislation that they will not be entertained. The idea of any private businesses operating provincial parks, is there in the legislation, but it is meant to be small, non-terrain altering businesses like snack shacks or a outfitting company taking people out into the park.
Right.
It's certainly not meant to be, massive developments that would compromise the ecological integrity of the area or, take large areas away for private development.
All right, we'll have to leave it there for now. Raymond Plourde, Senior Wilderness Coordinator with the Ecology Action Center. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. All right, it is 10:47, and we are going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And we are back. The Todd Veinotte Show, filling in for Dan Alstrand, who's taking a couple of weeks off. And a major new report is out on how government worker pay and benefits in Atlantic Canada are comparing to those in the private sector. The Fraser Institute has released the Comparing Government and Private Sector Compensation in Atlantic Canada, the 2025 edition. And it found that government employees, and that's the full spectrum, federal, provincial, municipal workers across New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador, they earned 6.3% higher wages than comparable private sector workers in 2024. And that figure was arrived at even after taking into account factors like age, gender, education, occupation. The report also highlights that many non-wage benefits, now we're talking things like pension coverage, personal leave, early retirement, job security, those are significantly more generous in the government sector. So, for example, more than 60% of government workers are covered by a registered pension plan. Compare that to less than 25% of private sector workers in the region. So supporters of these compensation packages argue that they help the employers attract and retain qualified workers. Critics are saying the gap places an unfair burden on the taxpayer and makes it harder for the private sector to compete for talent. To help us unpack that whole thing, Jake Fuss is joining us, and Jake is the Director of Fiscal Studies at the Fraser Institute. Good morning and welcome, Jake.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, thank you for joining us. So this report showed 6.3% wage premium for government workers over private sector, even after you control for differences between groups. What are the main factors that drive that premium, and how should listeners understand what those numbers represent?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, governments in Atlantic Canada should provide competitive compensation to attract qualified employees. But what we're seeing really is that wages and benefits in the government sector are out of step with the private sector. So there used to be kind of this bargain where, government employees would earn less than private sector employees, but they would get better benefits or better pension plans. And now it's kind of become a situation where they're not only getting higher wages and salaries, but they're also getting higher non-wage benefits through pensions and earlier retirement, more days off or personal leave, for instance. Mm-hmm. So I think there's, a number of different factors driving this. But the really clear takeaway right now, especially at a time when all four Atlantic provinces are running big deficits, right now this is ultimately costing taxpayers a significant amount of money.
And so you touched on the non-wage benefits, things like pension coverage, personal leave, earlier retirement. How do those benefits contribute to the overall compensation gap, and why do they matter when you're comparing the total packages?
Yeah, they matter a lot. I mean, ultimately, because of a lack of data, we aren't able to, assess exactly how much they amount to in terms of the overall compensation package. So when we say, there's a 6.3% higher wages than comparable private sector workers in the government sector, that's only wages and salaries. So that doesn't even factor in, pensions or those other non-wage benefits that are harder to actually calculate. Just because of the limited data that's even available. But they are an important factor because, as we know, pensions are part of your overall compensation package. And when you have those other non-wage benefits, like being able to take more time off for personal leave, those things do add up over time and also ultimately help people with, flexibility in their lives. So, these are just a few of the different factors. And there is, right now, this imbalance between the government and private sectors in Atlantic Canada.
And I mean, as the workforce ages, things like pension and earlier retirement are going to become more important.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a huge difference for a lot of people. I mean, if we look at average age of retirement right now in a place like Nova Scotia, if you're in the public sector, it's generally under 63 years old, whereas if you're in the private sector, it's over 65. So, that's a 2.5 year difference when we're looking at the data. That's a substantial amount of time for somebody who's retiring, and it does add up over time. So ultimately, there is, this, like I said, this imbalance right now between the government and private sectors. And ultimately, there is, this has been a problem that's persisting across, all the different provinces in Atlantic Canada right now.
So what are the key implications of this compensation gap for government finances and taxpayers here in Atlantic Canada? I mean, are there fiscal sustainability concerns that really should be part of this conversation?
Yes, I think that's ultimately the biggest takeaway that I look at when I'm assessing this. I mean, right now, all four Atlantic provinces are running deficits, and they're, consistently increasing spending quite fast. It's also, the parliamentary budget officer in Ottawa has also ruled that all four provinces right now are unsustainable with their debt accumulation over the next few years. That ultimately is going to fall squarely on the backs of taxpayers who could have to pay higher taxes in the future. They're going to have to pay more debt interest costs. That's siphoning money away from services like healthcare and education, and it's just going towards repaying, debt interest costs. So that's ultimately the growing concern, is if you're spending so much money on, government compensation, and it's not actually going towards the services themselves, and over time that debt continues to grow, and you end up having higher and higher taxes that are being borne by people in Atlantic Canada, and that's not ultimately a good problem to have.
And so the report suggests bringing government compensation more in line with private sector norms, and that could help control government spending without actually reducing services. Are there practical steps that policymakers should or could be taking to move toward that goal?
Well, I think ultimately it's going to require difficult decisions. And I don't think they can kick the can down the road forever. This is not to say that any of this is going to be easy. It's going to ultimately result in tough negotiations when it comes to compensation and the number of government employees, for instance. But ultimately, I think governments are going to have to be much stronger on holding the line in a lot of these negotiations. And that's something that hasn't necessarily always happened, not just in Atlantic Canada, but across the country. And as ultimately they're getting into a bigger problem by digging themselves a bigger hole, by continuing to increase spending and run these deficits. They're kicking the can down the road, but eventually, the bill comes due. And the longer that you kick that can down the road, the bigger the bill becomes and the harder the problem becomes to actually deal with. So they're ultimately going to have to deal with this problem sooner rather than later.
All right, we'll have to leave it there for now. Jake Fuss, thank you so very much for joining us this morning. Jake is the Director of Fiscal Studies at the Fraser Institute. Appreciate your time and your perspective today.
Thanks very much for having me on.
All right, thank you so much. It is 10:58, and we're waiting for a news update. We're coming up at the top of the hour. Blake Priddle will have that for you, and we're going to take that quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Oh, yes, it is time to talk. It's open hour time. This is your time to take control of the conversation. Maybe you want to talk about something you've heard on the show so far today. Perhaps something else is on your mind. Throw some ideas out there for you. First up, Halifax Regional Council is meeting today, and on the agenda, they've got a bit of a controversial change to how false alarms are handled. The proposal would simplify the fee structure to a flat $300 charge for each false alarm. That would replace the current approach of, tiered fines that increase with repeated calls. So that's gotten folks talking about fairness, public safety costs, and whether the fees actually curb those nuisance alarms. Something else that HRM is going to be tackling today at City Hall is proposed bylaw changes aimed at providing more oversight of Uber and other ride-hailing companies. Now, it's no surprise that Uber is opposed to those changes, saying it would lead to higher fares and too much red tape. But under the existing system, taxi and limousine drivers have to send the municipality results from training and background checks, which include scans for criminal records and child abuse allegations. The ride-hailing drivers are subject to the same checks and training, but the oversight is actually provided by companies like Uber, not the municipality. Is the municipality the right body to be overseeing those drivers? So perhaps that is something else you want to discuss. Of course, in Shelburne County, the tragic dog attack that claimed the life of a 13-year-old boy. RCMP continued to investigate that, but the conversation has now shifted toward calls for stronger animal ownership laws. The municipality of Shelburne says it is going to review its dog control bylaw in the wake of the tragedy. On the national front, Canada's federal gun buyback program. It was first trialed in Cape Breton. Yeah, that's where they chose to do the pilot project. And the whole kit and caboodle is going to move forward despite low participation from folks in Cape Breton. Only a fraction of the targeted assault-style firearms were collected in that test run. But Ottawa is going to expand the program nonetheless nationwide. And that has sparked debate about public safety and personal freedoms. Perhaps that is something that you'd like to discuss today. Community issues, do you have one that's top of mind for you? Safety, taxes, traffic, something else entirely? This hour is all yours, so what is on your mind? If there is a story out there that speaks to you, give us a call. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255 if you're from out of town. And Tim is going to start us off this morning. Good morning, Tim.
Morning, Lisa. How are you? Nice to have you on the air.
Well, nice to be here for a little while. What's on your mind today, Tim?
Well, listen, the ongoing issue with Nova Scotia Power, I'm not sure how, I hear you, I'm not sure how effective the those who are intervening are being, but at the end of the day, I think those in a management position at Nova Scotia Power have been neglectful. I mean, we've said repeatedly, individuals' privacy may have been invaded, information stolen. We still don't know what the adverse effect, if any, will be on those individuals, and there's many of us. But yet they stand there and ask for increase after increase.
But the top brass didn't show up to the. They decided to sit this one out this year. They didn't go to the hearing.
That should tell everyone everything you need to hear about the leadership at Nova Scotia Power. Because if you need to ask for an increase and you can support it with factual information, you should at least have the dignity to show up and provide that information in person. It's unfortunate, but I think it's cowardly. But at the end of the day, as I've said before with Dan and many others, there's a lot of people out there hurting, and yet time after time, they show up and they say, we need our annual increase. And it's unfortunate because I'm not sure if they're doing their due diligence or their job. That's for others to decide. But at the end of the day, I know that increase is going to hurt people.
So I got the letter just before Christmas advising me that I should probably sign up for the credit monitoring because my information had been compromised. So certainly did that. It sounds to me like you have been involved with this and dealing with this a lot longer than I have.
Well, I've certainly signed up for it, but like I said, initially it was for short term. Then they extended it for 5 years. Yeah. But it's out there on the dark web somewhere. Whoever has it has it. How that's going to affect, as I said, many of us in the years to come, we'll have to wait and see. But is Nova Scotia going to be there to step up and say, sorry about the mistakes we've made, and by the way, we're going to compensate you accordingly? But they're saying, we need the money for X, Y, and Z. In my opinion, I always thought that it was management's due diligence to have those things in place so that they could be doing that all along.
Yeah, and I guess, for me, the greater issue is how much of my personal information do you have? Why do you have it? And how are you keeping it safe? And just a quick story that situation that I faced. I was in a bit of a personal standoff with Nova Scotia Power for a number of years because they would not allow me to change my last name on my account until I produced for them my divorce decree and my marriage certificate that said, this is my new name. I didn't have to produce that information when I got my passport renewed in my new married name. So I was damned if I was going to be giving that to Nova Scotia Power. And I was on that standoff. I mean, so that, begs the question, why would they need that? Why would they have to have a copy of my divorce decree?
That's for Nova Scotia to try to explain. Good for you to stand up for your principles. But at the end of the day, I think it's extremely concerning and alarming that information, as far as it goes to many of our personal information, is out there with somebody. And we yet do not know what the damage is. And I think it's embarrassing for the leadership of Nova Scotia Power, A, not to show up, B, not to answer any questions, and B, to be extremely incompetent.
All right, Tim, I'll leave that for now. Thank you so much for getting us started this morning. You have a great day.
Cheers. All the best.
All right, to you too. All right, and we're going to go now to Joshua. Joshua, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can. Yes, indeed. What's on your mind?
I'm a government employee, and I was just curious, the Fraser Institute study and the gentleman that was on there previous before the talking hour, who initiated or solicited the service to come up with the numbers of public servants making way more than their private counterparts? Do we know that?
This was from the Fraser Institute. It looks to me like the Comparing Government and Private Sector Compensation study is one that's done fairly regularly. They call this the 2025 edition. So that indicates to me that this is something they do on a regular basis.
So are they solicited by anybody, or they just do it on their own?
I think they just
their own.
I think they just do it on their own. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So you take umbrage with the numbers, do you?
Yeah, well, with some occupations, like I work for the government, I won't say what level, but I'm a skilled tradesperson.
Mm-hmm.
And the fair market value for us in particular is way below the private sector, even with some of the benefits given to us.
Yeah.
So that's been a talking factor for quite a bit. And they're talking about recruitment, retention, and whatnot. And then they're talking, the other hand, of, the taxpayers. We pay taxes, too, as private or as public servants, too.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that side, too, but we also have to pay our bills. So, and they have to try to recruit talent. So how do you weigh that? Like, I know there's engineers that work for the government that make way below what their private counterparts are. So I'm just wondering, how do they come to their numbers? Because I know there's a lot of highly educated folks and skilled tradespeople with compulsory trades that are making well below what the private sector is making. We're well aware of what the private sector is making, what their benefits are. So I just want to put that out there for discussion.
No, absolutely, and you're absolutely right. Certainly during my time on Halifax Council, working with, for example, our legal folks, certainly they are making not nearly as much as they would if they were in the private sector. So, certainly there are a lot of government workers that make that decision that they are going to commit themselves to public service as opposed to, commit themselves to making as much money as they possibly can.
Well, it's not about making as much money as we possibly can, but at least being a little bit fair and being able to be a public servant. There's an attribute factor where you're getting paid well below. It's almost ridiculous, really.
But now, do you take? I think you have to take into account too the sort of non-wage benefits that come with a government job.
Yes, that's fair. But in their study, the gentleman that was on previous they didn't say they put that in there. So
no, exactly.
Yeah, so there's benefits. There's benefits thrown at certain private sectors as well that are pretty much almost on par with some government agencies. But yes, that is a fair comment to make. But even with mine in particular, I can tell you right now, there's still a wage gap.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much, Joshua, for joining us this morning. Appreciate your perspective on that.
No problem. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Thanks. It is 11-16-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 are the numbers to call. We do have some phone lines open, so if you want to let us know what is on your mind, give us a call at those numbers. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And I am here today and for the next couple of weeks, and the largest reason why I am here, Dan Alstrand asked me to be here, but also want to say hello and good morning to the team at Forward Strategies for allowing me to come play radio for the next couple of weeks while they're on the road doing public engagements and all kinds of great work. So thank you to the Mary Ellen and the team at Forward Strategies. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 are the numbers to call for the open hour. And joining us right now is David. Good morning, David, and welcome.
Good morning and welcome.
What's on your mind, David?
Well, it's good to have somebody in the seat, and I'll say in the seat that used to be on council. And I find you very honest. And I'm going to throw a couple questions at you.
Okay.
Not going to put you in a spot. Not going to put you where. Just going to use your knowledge on council. Let's say that.
Okay.
And I've said this before to Dan, and I said it with the councillors on the hot seat, and I really didn't get an answer. It's like, yeah, we know, yeah, we can't, yeah, they're under contract, but you know about the statement of compensation where it shows employees for Halifax what they get paid.
Oh, are you talking about the Sunshine List?
Yeah, let's call it that. Yeah.
Well, no, that's a very specific thing. The Sunshine List is the list that's published every year with just sort of a listing of all the employees that made over $100,000 for that year or the previous year.
Yeah, and probably when you were on council, you probably viewed it, and I look at it.
Well, everybody can view it. It's a public document.
Yeah, it blows my mind how much these people are getting paid. Did you ever question it? Does anybody ever question it? Why pages are full of police constables that are making $147,000?
Well, you know what? I've got
$132,000.
I do have the answer for that because I also sat on the board of police commissioners for several years. You will see on that Sunshine List the vast majority are police officers or firefighters, and that's because of overtime.
Okay, so there is that much overtime that the police officer, they must be drooling at overtime then. There's that much opportunity for overtime in firefighters? So it's full of firefighters, so overtime would be what? Putting out a fire or managing the fire station? What would the overtime be for as a firefighter?
Many different things, but
that get passed on paper, that get passed on paper and are not really looked at. You're talking about saving money. Let's save some money here, Lisa. Let's save some money on someone who's an analysis, okay? On this list, making $132,000. Somebody who's an administrator making $128,000. I can go on and on and on. There's so much money in here that's being wasted, and then they are going to raise our taxes. They are doing assessments on our houses. We need to pay more for water. Go look at how much the Water Commission pays, how much they pay their employees. It's unbelievable how much money we taxpayers, you involved sitting in that seat, everybody in your studio, and everybody listening to this radio program are paying these people. We are paying the salaries. I think it's time, call it whatever list you want, that the top-heavy administration gets looked at here. I don't think we need a 50-50 draw like the lady said. I don't think we need to come up with any ideas. We don't need to cut a ball field. We don't need to close a rink. We need to get rid of this top half of these people doing these jobs. And I'm not talking about the odd overtime, not talking about the constable that has to do overtime or the firefighter has to put out a fire or look after a crew. That's not my point. On this list is numerous jobs that can be eliminated when the contract is over or cut back. How can you pay a training officer $176,000, Lisa? That's almost as much as our mayor makes. And no one looks at this list. No one.
Well, the other piece of it too is that a lot of these roles are unionized, so it means negotiating a contract. So it takes two to tango.
Then fine. Then tango with them. Don't be scared. The council is scared to death. The city is scared to death. Tango with them. You hear Gloria on here talking about we don't have enough firefighters. Probably don't have enough firefighters because we pay in these stupid wages to these people that don't. Of course they're going to sit behind a desk with a pencil and make $176,000. You can go through this list. This list doesn't lie. This list tells you what we're paying out. You wouldn't dare add up all the figures. It would scare you to death. A BA technician. What's a BA technician? $180,000, Lisa.
All right, David. All right, David. Thank you so much.
My point is this, and thank you for the time.
Okay.
Is that I would like answers to this. I would like a review. I would like to know when the contracts are over. We taxpayers need to know where our money's going. This is disgusting. This is why we don't have high ladder fire trucks. This is why we don't have more firemen. Because money's being wasted.
And I think that's a conversation that you should take to the budget committee when they do their public consultation. Might be a good thing that they all need to hear.
I'll send a lot of my neighbors here.
Yeah.
Because we're pissed. Thank you very much.
All right, David. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
405-6000 is the number to call, or 1-877-801-8255. Joe, welcome and good morning, sir.
Well, I don't know how good it is, but thank you for taking the call.
All right. What's on your mind?
Many things, but what I'm sitting here, and it's like a revolving door at the airport. As I hear more people making comments, there's way too much to discuss, and there doesn't exist the means to correct some of the problems we have. They're systemic. David's right, but the problem, David, is that a lot of the people that would oversee or monitor this list are in the same arena as the people that are making these kinds of salaries. There's no checks and balances. It's a problem that's not good. It's like fighting City Hall, the old expression. It's kind of pointless. It's sad. It's depressing, but it's reality. What I was going to say is I heard a lot of people complaining about government jobs and the low wages that are paid and the benefits, etc. And they're not being specific about any particular part of the private sector or the government sector. But I've heard this for decades. If you feel that way, why don't you get a private sector job? Why complain about a job you have and demand that you be paid better than or as equal to someone else when you can go and apply for that job or apply for another job somewhere else? Move on. And I think it goes to the fact that we humans don't, and it's getting worse, don't take any responsibility. We don't take responsibility for anything. It's become ubiquitous.
It's everybody else's fault.
Yeah. Yeah. We humans aren't the sharpest knife in the drawer. I've known that for decades. We're not. We think we are, but we're not. All the problems, most of all the problems, if not all of them, are created by humans. Our greed, our selfishness, it's genetic in us. We went through a sweet spot back in, I guess, the 40s, 50s, and 60s for the masses. But
and there's a whole slew of people that want to take us back there.
I'm one of them.
You think that life was better in the 50s and 60s?
Well, it was for some, but generally speaking, overall, and I generalize, and I think generalizing is very valid. Most people will react most of the time to most situations the same way. So, there's always been weak spots. I mean, the chain is only as strong as the weakest link. And there's always weaknesses in our existential day-to-day lives, and we are creating more problems than more fires than we can stomp out, and they're growing at an exponential rate. We're developing, I see here in Halifax, a caste system. That's like the old, the East Indians say that doesn't exist anymore, and I know East Indians, and it does. It's very strong. But we're developing that system here, and it's getting stronger, where there's a separation between those that have and those that don't have, and those that are connected, know the right people, know where to go to better their lives. But most of us just struggle, and we're treading water, trying to keep our heads above water. And some of the things in this city are unbelievably horrid. The overseeing of developers, the buildings, the maintenance of buildings. I live in a building that is horrid. It's absolutely horrid.
All right, listen, Joe, I hate to cut you off, but we're up against a news break here. But listen, did you want to hold on and revisit this after the news, or maybe I'll let you go and we'll revisit on another day?
Well, I don't have a lot of days to get in and talk on the phone. I'm too busy stomping out fires in my own life. So I'll hang on.
There you go. All right. All right. Just hold on right there. It is just creeping up on 11:30, and we've got news with Blake Priddle coming right up. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the program. Our open hour continues, 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. And we're going to go back to the phone lines, and Pat is joining us now. Hey, Pat, welcome.
Hello, Lisa. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Excellent. What can we do for you today?
I just want to comment on that sunshine list.
Oh, yes.
I work with people who have been on the sunshine list, and it was after cashing in years of accumulated overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you were correct when you mentioned, a lot of that's overtime, but it's not just based on 1 year.
No. For some folks, yeah, they, especially those towards the end of their career, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean that there's you can accumulate hypothetically 500 hours of overtime. 60, 70, 80, 100 hours a year. Just keep it banked, carry it over. You can cash it in. One coworker cashed in 1,000 hours.
Wow!
Because he wanted to buy a motorcycle, but it's not. I guess to get a more accurate understanding of who makes what every year, you would have to kind of base it on, say, 5 years or 10 years, because a lot of those people aren't going to be on it year after year after year.
Yeah, and in my mind, I was always I was never really in favor of attaching people's names to it on the list. Like, for me, that was a bit of an invasion of privacy. I think you can still get the information out without naming names. You can just have, their job title. Now, in some cases, it'd probably be pretty easy to figure out the person behind the job title. But for me, and certainly, and I heard that as a counselor as well. Staff just saying, "Listen, is there any way that we can publish this sunshine list without attaching people's names to it?"
I mean, I don't know. As a municipal employee, I don't really. Doesn't matter to me if and when I ever see that. I mean, we work a lot of overtime in the winter.
Yep.
Anytime I do a parade, I bank that time.
Yep.
You can, we can bank as much as we want. We're allowed to take, I believe it's 80 hours a year as time off, and the rest we take as income, money.
Yeah.
You want to add 20 hours of overtime to a paycheck. You submit the form, blah, blah, blah. But it's not, a lot of those people aren't making that every year.
Yeah.
Some of those police officers or firefighters, maybe they had a great year and they're on the sunshine list. Maybe they won't next year.
Well, exactly. And I mean, after the wildfires in 2023, how many firefighters ended up on the sunshine list the following year because of all of the incredible work that they did during the wildfires? So it's, I understand the need for transparency and certainly support it 110%. But, I'm not sure that attaching people's names to their salary and making that public is the way to do it. Listen, Pat, got to move on to other callers, but really appreciate your time this morning.
Yeah, cheers. We'll see you again.
All right, take care. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call. And we've got Joe back. Hey, Joe, you wanted to finish up your thought there.
Well, not really. I think I kind of made a point. I could go on endlessly, but I realized when you put me on hold, I was doing the very thing that frustrates me at times and taking up being a phone hog. And people do that, and we almost always say, "I've got a quick question." That's crap. There are no quick questions, and there are no quick answers. So I appreciate the time, but the gentleman that you just had on, Pat, is explaining the sunshine list. And that therein lies a lot of the problems. We try to mitigate all the things we do. We try to take credit for things that we had little or nothing to do with. Mm-hmm. And we always point the finger at blame at outside, peripheral sources. And until that changes, nothing's going to get better. And that's not going to change. That's our behavior. And our behaviors dictate a lot of the problems that we've created for ourselves. And I agree with David that no police officer should make $150,000 a year. It's not that he shouldn't make it or she shouldn't make it. We can't afford the way we're living. The caste system, it's slowly coming in, and it's getting stronger in our day-to-day lives. Those that do well, and I know. Look, I've been dealing with the municipality the last number of years on and off with the horrible conditions at the apartment building I live in. I'd move. I'm retired. I can't afford to. And even if I could, I don't know if there's anything available. So
We say we're solving the problems, we're building more properties, but almost none of them are affordable for the average person, especially our seniors on pensions. So anyway,
all right.
You are doing a good job. You're a natural. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate you calling us back. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 is the number to call. And we have Anthony joining us. And good morning, Anthony. Welcome.
Hi, Lisa. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I guess that's for others to decide, right?
Well, I mean, I'm hearing it, so I'm hearing it in your voice. I'm going to pick up on a bunch of things that have been when I started listening.
Absolutely.
First off, I want to say I'm one of those first-time callers, long-time listeners.
Oh, God love you.
And,
welcome.
Yeah, been there right from the start. Andrew Crystal, a good friend. Rest in peace.
God love him. Yep.
Yeah, but one thing I want to dedicate this call to him because it is my first time. He tried to get me on numerous times and I wouldn't do it. But
all right, this one's for Andrew.
This is a big one. This one's for Andrew. So the theme of it is I never talked and called in the call-in shows because it was the better to remain silent, thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. So that was kind of my thought of people that called in the radio shows. But I listened to it religiously and never called in. I wasn't adding to the conversation. So this is the change I'm making for 2026. So that being said, the Sunshine List conversation that we're having here, I think it was Joe making the points about people on the list, and we know it's overtime, but police, firefighters. Well, guess what? A lot of that stuff happens, and we have no idea exactly what's happening.
Exactly.
We can schedule as best as we can, but just the nature of that. You know, I had friends on the force that they were part of the quick response team.
Yes, disasters don't book ahead.
Boom. He engages, he's there, and guess what? He's probably staying a lot longer than his scheduled shift.
Yeah.
And he took beat shifts just so that he was available to do the quick response. I can't remember the name of it. You would probably know as the police got on that board, but it doesn't matter. But that's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Overtime happens. We don't know when it happens. Yes, there's other situations. Maybe that's something we can manage where, hey, let's be a little smarter with this. Let's try to make sure we're scheduling appropriately. So that's my point on that. One point I wanted to pick up on what Joe said. He was picking the list, cherry picking some things. The BI tech, I'm not a professional, but guess what? That's probably blood analysis tech. And when we know blood analysis is needed, definitely not scheduled.
No.
So $170K, that's probably a deal for that guy. Also said it numerous times in my life without going on the radio, but you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. That applies to counselors, blood analysis technicians, I'm sure. People that manage people. We're hiring the people that need to be hired. Is there room for improvement? Yes. Is there middle management? Create it to, make sure that people are being heard in the organization and have the right ability to talk to their direct report at a reasonable amount to manage certain people? I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
Is there middle management that's there only for somebody who didn't want to be accountable at one point in time, so they put a layer of accountability in place and we blessed by it? There's union things that come into play, all these things.
Yeah.
I'm not controlling the conversation. But one thing I will say, and I really wanted to call in yesterday, but I just didn't have the time. Now I'm in a car and I can do it, and I got some seat time. Love hearing Chris calling into the council hot seat. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Very well informed, but I'm going to go back to my previous conversation. And Chris, I'm talking to you because I know you're listening, and I hope you call in and hope that you understand that this comes from a good place. We don't have all the facts. You're not sitting in on all council. They elect councilors to represent the whole community and use their best judgment based on how we assess them as that electoral period that they get elected in and come to the doors and hold the open houses. We can make an assessment on that. But when he comes on with great information, tons of knowledge, with the framing and the filter of what he has, he goes at these people and they're earning a salary. They're not getting paid enough. There's a lot of people that would love to step up to be counselor. I'm one of them. I've debated it for years, but I can't do it because I'd have to wait till later in life because I have kids. I have responsibilities to pay bills, and all these counselors, the young ones, like Sam Austin,
listen,
great guy.
I do
know
not
he's working
know.
hard.
Yeah, and I do not know
I
how.
know you know it.
Yeah,
I know you know it.
Yeah, I mean, there is no way that I could even have entertained doing that role when I still had my daughter at home.
No,
you're absolutely right.
Not.
You're absolutely
and the
right.
Thing is, and not to monopolize, but I bet, what is it, 20 years since Crystal was on? I got all this wrapped up, but you're only getting this week of me. But no, one thing I will say, though, just back to yesterday on the hot seat, the person that called in about the 50-50, hey, great idea. Yes, we need extra revenue. Probably not well thought out. And I know it's hard for you guys to call it in the moment and the counselors to call it in the moment without coming across as being an a-hole or whatever, or whatever. So, yeah, great thoughts.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, listen, your first time?
I have more, but you don't want to hear from just me. But Chris, call back. I mean it from a good place. I truly do.
All right, listen.
Public. Yeah.
We got to take a break, Anthony, but thank you so very, very much.
Yeah,
and
I appreciate it. I'll keep calling.
Please do. Please do.
I'm going to.
405-6000 is the number, 1-877-801-8255. Jim, Paul, Kurt, Brian, Anthony, please stay on the line. We'll get to you momentarily. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And the open hour continues at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Listen, the phone lines are blowing up, so I think what we're going to do is continue this open hour into the 12 o'clock hour. We're going to take the first 15 minutes after lunchtime, afternoon, and continue on with the open hour. But so if you're on the line right now, stay with us because we will get to you. And we're going to talk to Kurt right now. Good morning, Kurt. Welcome.
Morning, Lisa. Nice to hear your voice again.
Lovely to be here. What can we do for you?
I just wanted to talk about an article in today's Herald that confirming that over 560,000 cyclists crossed counters that are placed in 12 areas of HRM. Mm-hmm. Sam Austin addressed it, but I encourage those people that think no one uses bikes to look at that. And if you wanted further evidence, a short time back, you could look at Halifax Bridges data showing that cyclists are using bike lanes year-round, and whenever there's a significantly improved bike infrastructure, it's an option viable for a lot of people to drive into the city. And in fact, I've tried to be brief and make a list of points, and then if you allow me to run through them.
Sure thing.
I continually hear people calling into this program stating that connecting and improving bike infrastructure is a nice-to-have luxury that must be paused and perhaps even removed. And, I have significant concerns with that. Others have rail on about never seeing anyone on a bike lane, point out that Halifax is too hilly and too cold to ride in the winter. I'm turning 77 in a couple of weeks, and I've ridden over 8,000 kilometers on my bike in the last 3 years, and speak to the health benefits and the conveniences when I'm running an errand. I have a cargo bike. It just is a viable mean for me, but I'm not speaking for me. I'm speaking about others. I would love to see council look at some way of opening up Spryfield across the end of the arm so that they could ride bikes onto the peninsula rather than getting in. And to speak to the winter thing, I'm in Toronto now and just visited Ottawa, which is way more winter than we do.
Oh, yes.
And the car Haligonians would be absolutely, the car-centric Haligonians would be absolutely flabbergasted by the incredible number of cyclists that use their bike lanes and streets year-round.
Yeah, and I think the good part too, and as you pointed out at the top of the call here, that we're starting to get the data now, and that was always the biggest thing. When we were advocating for bike lanes or talking about bike lanes at council, we didn't really have the data to back up our assumptions. But, now that we're a few years in, we can see the increased use of those bike lanes through the counters.
Exactly. The data is showing that. And yet people will say it's a luxury, it's something we can't afford. They'll even claim that bikes are causing congestion, and I shake my head over that. And, you know, I live in District 7, and I'm concerned about the tax increases. I have a significant assessment on my house, but I don't want to forsake strategic investment in cycling infrastructure that will help dealing with the massive increases and traffic congestion. And if I could, last point.
Sure.
I've participated in, you would be familiar with the HRM consultation method. I've gone to consultations and talking about extending. There's a bikeway that was put in along Beaufort Avenue, and they want to connect it up on both ends. And one end is to go down through Point Pleasant Park. Well, the current recommendation from staff, people talk about the high costs of bike infrastructure. They propose crossing the rail cut with it by building a new bridge, which seems ludicrous to me. There are alternatives, and probably the strongest point, after not getting on yesterday, I decided to write my councillor and premier and HRM staff saying, I understand that CN is doing that Tower Road Bridge, and it would be a strategic opportunity to get in touch with them and try and work out a way of incorporating a safe bike lane across that. There's no need to do it, but it's an opportunity that will be lost if we pause it. And I'd love to see the Premier and the Mayor and Council get on and say, let's seize this opportunity. Let's not lose it by pausing at this particular time. Those are opportunity costs if you don't get into them. And the other thing that following the consultation process, I've been hit by a car riding on Tower Road, and it'd be so easy to go along. I don't know if you know the area, but the rail cut runs along Pine Hill Drive. One side is just parking, and it's the rail cut. It's not even listed as an alternative. The only and it go down Franklin, you can enter the end there, and all of it could be done at very low cost, and it's a low traffic area. And so I understand people complaining about the costs. I think there are cheaper ways of dealing with it, and I wish staff would pick it out. I have no idea. I put these forward in consultations, but they're not reflected in the last report. So I just want to point out there are people that are older that pay high taxes and support bike infrastructure, and I do it for my recreation, but I do it for others that don't have the opportunity to buy cars or deal with what's going on. So you can say it's a nice to have. I disagree and challenge that entirely. So
all right. Thank you so much, Kurt. All right. Take care. Have a great day. You
too.
All right. Thanks. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Listen, we're going to extend this till after the news. So Jim, Paul, Brian, Rick, please just stay on the line and we will get to you in just a few moments. We have the news with Blake Priddle coming right up. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And we have a bonus open phone line time right now. We're going to extend the open hour for another 15 minutes or so at 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. And Jim is joining us now. Jim, thank you for waiting.
Hello, Lisa. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Jim?
We're talking about the Sunshine List again, apparently.
Yes.
And I don't know how much of the history you're aware of, but just briefly, it was the provincial government always did something like that for years. And I think way back just after amalgamation, there was an issue with the mayor and the CAO for the now the newly formed HRM around amalgamation time, and the fact that they wouldn't divulge their salaries. So they adopted the provincial model of establishing a sunshine list. Now, you got to remember, that was back in 1996 and 97, when $100,000 was an awful lot of money.
Exactly.
And I think Gloria McCluskey has advocated on a few occasions to have that bar set a little bit higher, because $100,000 is not in the field of some disciplines is not really a whole lot of money.
No,
anyway,
exactly. I agree with you on that. And, what are your thoughts? Like, I've never been a fan of attaching individuals' names to those salaries.
I'll tell you, from my perspective, Lisa, I'm a 37-year veteran of the Halifax Regional Fire Service. I started in 1988 as a career firefighter, and I've just recently retired. And I was the former union president for a number of years. I have some real issues with the publication of names on a list.
Yeah.
Because you know as well as I do that it doesn't take much of a deep dive once you've got an individual's name to find out as much as you want to find on the internet.
Yeah.
And, our members in the fire service, I mean, I'm no longer a working firefighter, but the members in the fire service have expressed concern about that, like the safety of their family and the security of their homes, etc., with this list being out there. But now let's have a look at the list. One thing that you were right, there's a lot of people in the fire service on there that are working overtime, but I have to point out, Lisa, that all of the operational firefighters that are on that list are working at straight time overtime.
Wow.
It's not time and a half, okay? We've got training division and fire prevention that work 9 to 5 jobs, but when they get called out on the weekends or in the evenings to conduct their business, they do get a time and a half rate. But operational firefighters only get straight time. And on top of that, any courses, training, or any sanctioned university education to further their careers and further what the service they're providing to the community, that goes against them on the salary scale as well for the purposes of that sunshine list. So if you take a 2-year program in fire service management or something of that nature, that appears as part of a salary for the purposes of the sunshine list. So what the real problem, in answer to a couple of your callers, the real problem, and I've heard the fire service union executive speak of this, and they're absolutely right. We've got a serious problem of not staffing correctly. Because if you staff correctly, the overtime wouldn't be there. But our management team seems to get a real, it's bang for your buck. If they're getting a guy to come in for straight time overtime, they're not contributing any more to his pension, any more for medical benefits, nothing. It's just straight time overtime.
All right, Jim.
So that's kind of where it stands with that stuff, just to add some clarity. I hope it helps.
No, appreciate that. Thank you so much for calling in this morning, Jim.
Okay, take care.
All right, you too. Thank you so much. 405-6000 is the number to call, or 1-877-801-8255. We're getting another couple of minutes of the open hour for us today. And joining us on the line now is Paul. Good morning, Paul, and thank you for waiting.
Hi, good morning, Lisa. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you, too. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to quickly talk about the issue about the dogs that we talked about this morning.
Oh, yes.
So one of the things that we need to do with those dangerous breed of dogs that people like to have is to also make sure that if there can be laws that enforces that people who have such kind of dog, have a guard on their mouth whenever they are outside, in public places, so that if there's any situation where the dog is having a mood change or something out of the control of the owner, with that guard in the mouth, the dog will not be able to harm anybody around. And also, I also want to mention that, people who are also responsible for their dog, when they take their dogs to public parks, especially soccer pitches and football pitches, people leave their dogs to dig holes on the pitches, and when kids go there to play, like they are normal, like in school soccer pitches, when you go there to play soccer with your kids, you find out that there are a lot of holes on the pitches, and sometimes your kids tend to like run and stumble into those holes, and this leads to like ankle fractures in their ankle because of that sudden dip in the ground that no one is expecting, just like potholes that we have on the roads. So these dogs, they create a lot of those holes on these soccer pitches, which makes the soccer pitch unfavorable for kids to play on. And also, if there could be ways to like let people know that they should be more responsible with their dog, just like preventing their dog creating those holes on those pitches, because at the end of the day, you see they still spend a lot of money maintaining those pitches every season, regrassing them and topping them with soil. So these are some of the things that people need to be responsible for, when they take their dog to public spaces, so that, we can all have, enjoy the environment that we all share. Thank you.
All right, Paul, thank you for that. And we're going to follow that up by going to Ian now. Good morning, Ian. Welcome.
Hi, Lisa. How you doing? It's so good to hear your voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan since Q104.
Since the old days.
Seriously. Yeah, I know.
What's on your mind, Ian?
You're pretty good at what you're doing, though. My uncle's a very famous journalist.
Oh, yes.
We won't go into that.
Okay.
But yeah, you're pretty good at what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. This is a whole new world for me, so.
You should have your own show, Lisa.
Oh, God love you.
I've been listening all morning. So listen, I'll go back to the guy. I think his name was the guy that called today and said talking about the dogs. And,
you talking about the trainer, Bob Ottenbrite?
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, Bob. He was amazing.
Oh, listen, he is one of the best in Canada. I was very lucky to have Bob help me train my very first dog as a grown-up, and he is one of a kind. He is fantastic at what he does. I
know. You guys should have your own podcast on dogs.
Oh, listen, I wouldn't need any. No, you wouldn't have to convince me. I am dog obsessed. So I would do that in a heartbeat.
What type of dog is it, Lisa, that you have?
We are a Wheaten Terrier family. We've had we've got one now, and we've had three Wheaten Terriers in my lifetime so far. So great dog, but like all dogs, they can be unpredictable, and so you got to take those precautions. All right, listen, I'm up against a break here, Ian. I very much appreciate it.
I know, but I just want to tell you a quick story. It won't take long.
Okay.
I used to deliver newspapers when I was a kid. I was only just a kid. And I went to this house one day, and this dog came out, and he bit me really hard. I got to go get a tetanus shot and everything.
Oh,
he bit
wow.
right through my jeans. And then the owner said the reason why he bit you, he said, is because you carry newspapers, and that's what we beat him with.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty scally.
Yep. All right, Ian. Listen, we'll leave it there for now. I appreciate hearing from you, and hopefully we'll get you back on again.
I love your voice.
Oh, thank you, Ian. Take care, my dear, and Happy New Year.
You too, buddy.
All righty.
You too, buddy.
Bye-bye. It is just coming up on 12:17, and we're going to take a quick break right now. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. Thank you to everyone who joined us this morning. Very much appreciate it. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And welcome back. Thank you so much for spending some of your day with us. Well, businesses in Cape Breton have more space, support, and resources close to home. The official opening of the Cape Breton Business Innovation Centre happened yesterday in Sydney. And this new centre is going to bring together some key supports under one roof in one location to help entrepreneurs start, grow, and scale their businesses in Cape Breton. To tell us a bit more about this center and what it could mean for Cape Breton and beyond, we have Doug Jones joining us. Doug Jones with Ignite Atlantic. Good morning, Doug, or good afternoon, Doug. Welcome.
Good morning, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, listen, this is exciting for businesses in Cape Breton. What was the biggest gap or the challenge that entrepreneurs in Cape Breton were finding that this innovation center is meant to address?
Well, I think part of it is that not all the resources that were there to support entrepreneurs were necessarily located in Cape Breton, and along with that is just navigating our relatively complicated ecosystem and finding the right resources at the right time. So that's kind of was the catalyst for this. If we could bring together partners to co-locate in a facility in Cape Breton, not just for Sydney, but for all of the island, and see if we can help startups that have some really great ideas just navigate and access the right resources at the right time. And we believe there's a lot of big potential in Cape Breton as well as the rest of Nova Scotia to scale businesses and really develop export markets.
And at first glance, too, I can see how bringing those supports together under one roof can make a huge difference. I'm assuming that's going to be. I mean, that's a main driver of this center.
Yeah, well, it makes a big difference if we meet the entrepreneurs where they are. If I'm speaking to an entrepreneur in the Sydney Centre and across the hall is Invest Nova Scotia and they have resources that the entrepreneur needs, we can very quickly bring those resources together and have joint conversations with the entrepreneurs. So it's really just to speed up our development and simplify it for the entrepreneurs, so there's less need to go to other areas. We think that geography shouldn't matter if you have a good idea, and we want to make sure that the supports are there to help these entrepreneurs just move quicker.
Yeah, and I mean, with technology the way it is, you're absolutely right. It can happen anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to the days of Alexander Graham Bell and living in Bedeck. I mean, some of the greatest innovations of our time happened right here in Cape Breton way back when. So why can't it happen today?
So tell us a bit about the partners that are involved with this center.
Yeah, so really the two key partners coming in are Ignite and Volta, but we have a bunch of other partners that are co-locating. So Futurepreneur, Seed, we have the Center for Women in Business, BBI, and of course we have existing partnerships in the rest of Nova Scotia. So Digital Nova Scotia, the Discovery Center, all these organizations that have worked with us through our growth are really interested in coming to Cape Breton and being part of what we're building there as well. So there's a lot. Certainly the two main funders are the province and the federal government through ACOA and Growth and Opportunities, and they're key partners. It's not just about funding relationships because they both have resources to support entrepreneurs' growth. So I would count them in as key partners. Invest Nova Scotia is a big part of the center. They have 4 staff members that'll be in the center in Cape Breton, and they have offices in our locations in New Glasgow and Yarmouth as well. So they've been a real vital component in our growth.
Excellent. So what sort of resources and programming are you planning to have available at the center?
Well, certainly we have startup support as far as growth coaches and navigators to help navigate different programs. We'll have specific programming for entrepreneurs, whether it be in marketing and finance and things like this. But we're bringing in legal expertise. We're bringing in seasoned entrepreneurs as mentors so that they can access mentors as they need throughout their journey. But we're also concentrating on youth development. We've already begun this. We've kind of been quiet, but we've been in Cape Breton for the last 6 months, and we've been starting to run youth programs around entrepreneurship and STEM education, and really focusing on the next generation, and working with the university, CBU, and the NSCC campuses there to help really spark some innovative ideas out of young people and support them in their journey. And then work with existing industry in Cape Breton, and help them to adopt innovation, automation, anything that will help them scale and diversify and maybe establish new markets. So we're trying to support an ecosystem rather than just one entrepreneur. It's about changing the mindset around innovation.
Well, and it's sounding to me like, the whole package, mentorship, the workspace, the programming, it's all going to be tailored to the unique needs of Cape Breton startups. Yeah, and that's a good point. Is Cape Breton is unique. It's unique in geography. It's unique in culture. It's unique in the history of entrepreneurship and innovation. So we're learning from the community as much as we're bringing in resource. Because I think you have to meet the community where they are, and don't change the community. I think there's so many great things in Cape Breton right now. We just need to light a fire, try and spark more innovative ideas and support entrepreneurs throughout the island. Yeah, well, a lot of funding and investment has gone into this initiative. So, what is it that you're going to be tracking for the next few years? Like, what outcomes, indicators, like what does success look like for you? Well, I think success is not always measured by, the simple amount of startups. Yeah. But it's also measured in the impact in the community. The more youth that are engaged in innovation, the more communication there is around ideas and innovation and challenges, that's something that we look at. It's not as tangible as pure metrics, but we do look at investment dollars. We do look at companies that scale and start exporting. So if we can have more companies doing that, that's great. But we're not linked to one industry either. So nice. So we're kind of open to all kinds of different industries, whether it be tourism or technology companies or manufacturing or any of those things. So I think it's going to be a variety of things, but success is going to be a shift in mindset to me. And to take away geography and shrink the province, get those resources coming to Cape Breton and people meeting us on the ground here, I think is going to be a vital component. But so it doesn't completely answer your question, but I think success will emerge in certain startups that are coming out, and we recognize certain industries take longer than others. The bioeconomy and life sciences companies, that's a longer road to get to success, but we need to shout about the good things that are happening here, as well as the rest of the province. But here we want to highlight some of these companies, and we certainly highlighted a few companies yesterday during the launch, but there's lots more companies, and we have great resources up here like the Veinotte Center that are really helping bioeconomy companies get to market, and then we're there to support them once they get there. All right. Well, listen, there is a world of opportunities in Cape Breton. Doug Jones, 100%. CEO and founder of Ignite Atlantic, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate the time. All right. Take care, and thanks. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Thanks, Lisa. All right. Just coming up on 12:30, the news with Blake Priddle is coming right up. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back. It is 12:37. And you are with the Todd Veinotte Show. I am filling in for the next couple of weeks anyway, while Dan Alstrand takes some time off. And we have a full house here this morning. I think we've managed to cram the entire hockey team into the studio here. But the Citadel High School boys hockey team is having their third annual Hockey Pride Night. And that's coming up on Saturday, this coming Saturday at the Forum. And we have some folks here with us this morning to tell us a bit more about it and to just discuss the overall space of pride in hockey these days. Joining us, we have Jackson Cook, who is grade 12 and captain of the Citadel boys hockey team. Good morning, Jackson, and welcome.
Good morning.
Or I should say good afternoon now.
Good afternoon.
And Azalea Dambergs is with us. Azalea in grade 12 as well. And Azalea is president of the Citadel GSA, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
So this is the third year for Hockey Pride Night at Citadel High. As a player, how has the culture around inclusion and allyship on the team changed since year one? Since this all began, have you seen real changes occurring?
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe I'll just give the story about how everything kind of started.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it started 4 years ago before I came to the school, where there was someone on the ice had said something derogatory towards gay people. And what happened was, I think we came together as in hockey guys group and kind of talked about how the refs should have done something about that and how there should be punishment for that. Anyway, that ended up escalating into eventually having a pride night, which, because we really wanted to include gay people in hockey, make everyone feel included, which was very important to us. So yeah, that's how it kind of all started.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you guys are going to be wearing special pride jerseys for the game. Tell me a bit more about that.
So for the third year of Hockey Pride Night, we wanted to kind of add something to the night and start growing on the idea. So we thought it'd be really cool to make pride themed jerseys, and these jerseys can be worn at multiple games, not just Pride Night. So
Nice.
It's for any super special event, they can be worn and they can show what the hockey team stands for and what they represent. So we had a small team from GSA come together to design them, and they look really nice.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, I mean, the group that you head up, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, you guys actually collaborated to design the jerseys. How did that process work?
It was a really nice process. We took some time to make some mock-up designs and ideas, and then we showed them to the hockey team, and we worked together to pick out what they wanted it to look like and what we thought looked best. And everyone's super happy with how they turned out.
That is incredible. And now this is kind of interesting because the officials at the game are actually taking a stand this time around as well. What support will they be offering for the game, and and how does that make you feel?
I believe instead of the normal, is it red and blue armbands, they're going to be wearing rainbow bands,
Nice.
Which is super exciting to see. We weren't sure if that was even possible, but we got confirmation that can happen, and it's super cool that they're able to participate and show that they support us, because originally when the homophobic slur was said on the ice, or I don't know exactly what happened, but the ref didn't fight against it. They had said something along the lines of, I'm fine with you using that, but be careful around other refs. And that kind of started the whole idea of that wasn't okay. And maybe we need to start talking about why that wasn't okay.
Wow.
So it's super cool to see that turn into the refs actually supporting the night we're doing.
And, Jackson, this is something that it's, the issue of social issues in sports. There are some folks out there who still say that those two issues shouldn't collide. And, what would you say to somebody who's questioning why a high school hockey team is taking such a visible stand?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I think not everyone has to go and support. Everyone has their own opinions, but we really think that it's important to make sure everybody feels included in hockey because you never know what someone could be going through. So I just believe that, like, no, not everyone has to support. Everyone can make their own decisions, but we really think that it's important.
You guys have really, I mean, with this, you've become role models. Don't know if you've realized it or not, but what message do you hope that younger players, especially kids in the 2SL LGBTQ plus world, when they see this, what's the message that you want them to take away this weekend?
I just want them to take away that they belong in hockey and they belong in every sport. Not only hockey we're trying to accept, but we want it to be a gateway for other people to do this in every other sport. Yeah. So I just want people to feel included and that they belong. Have you heard about the show Heated Rivalry?
Yes. I mean, we laugh, but I mean that show really has changed the conversation about gay hockey players. Mm-hmm. It really has. I think it's opened the door for more conversations and more teams doing what Citadel High is doing this weekend. Let's wrap up with just give us the details on the game and the who's, the what's, the when's, the where's, and the why's.
So the game is going to be, I believe it starts the warm-up will start at 6:15 on this Sunday at the Forum. And during the warm-up, the boys will skate out in their jerseys for the first time. So that's the big reveal when we get to see them. And the Citadel's band will be playing as they skate out, which is another kind of club we've started to include. And between the first and second periods, the school's choir will be singing. And at the halftime, there's going to be some games and some events happening. But it's this Sunday at the Forum.
Excellent. All right.
6:30, yep.
Sounds good. That was Azalea.
Sorry, this Saturday, not the Sunday.
This Saturday, right. Azalea Dambergs from Citadel High, president of the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, and Jackson Koch, grade 12 captain of the Citadel boys hockey team. Thank you so very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right. It is just coming up on 12:45, and we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we have Allister Aalders, who's going to be joining us, and we're going to get a rundown of what to expect weather-wise for the rest of January and as we make our way further and deeper into the winter months. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It is 12:48, and boy, I don't know what happened or how it happened, but we're almost halfway through January. And, so far the weather has been fairly decent. A couple of freeze-thaw cycles, but nothing out of the ordinary, or is it? We've got meteorologist Allister Aalders on the line right now to sort of walk us through what to expect for the remaining days of January and perhaps a little further afield into what to expect for the rest of the winter. Good afternoon, Allister, Mr. Meteorologist, sir.
Hello, good afternoon.
I haven't had a chance to speak to you since you got your designation. Congratulations. I know you worked incredibly hard for that, and it looks good on you, darling.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Lisa.
So listen, how does January stack up so far against what is considered normal for Halifax, whether it be temperature-wise or snowfall-wise? Where are we?
Yeah, well, I mean, December was actually cooler than normal. It was, actually cooler than what we've had in quite a few years here in Halifax. And the start of the new year was also cold, but we've done a bit of a pattern reversal where temperatures have actually been well above where they should be for this time of year. I mean, 8 or 9 degrees, depending on where you were on Saturday. I mean, that's not record-breaking, but it's certainly not usual for this time of year. The normal high is about 0, and we've been seeing, as you mentioned off the top there, some freeze-thaw cycles I guess you could call this maybe a bit of the January thaw, if you will. But for the most part, we have been seeing our temperatures, especially our daytime highs, but even our overnight lows to start the year, warmer than normal. And that's been the case once again this week, where temperatures today are climbing above freezing once again. 3 degrees is the guaranteed high, but then we're back near 8, 9, and possibly parts of the province near 10 degrees by Thursday. So, I mean, not breaking records, but certainly much warmer than we should be for this time of year. Snowfall-wise, we are lacking a bit there. We had near or less than usual snowfall amounts as we went through December. Some areas in the province, where there were more snow squalls than usual, parts of the valley and the North Shore into Cape Breton did have a snowier start to the winter, and they've had some onshore snow continuing when we had the cold at the beginning of the month, but that's calmed down a bit for many communities, although we had a bit of snow yesterday, especially in northern Cape Breton. But the snowfall has been lacking. Perhaps that looks to change during the second half of the month. We get through this mild stretch this week and into the upcoming weekend, and then it does look like the pattern will start to change again for the second half of the month, where more opportunities for colder weather and this unsettled storm track likely to continue. But perhaps moving the storm track a bit farther offshore compared to over or north of the region, which has been helping to bring in the rain recently.
Yeah, and now are we technically still in drought?
So we're waiting for an update from the Canadian Drought Monitor, which I expect will be any day now, and I'm hoping by Friday when we have our conversation that perhaps we can dive into this a bit more. I was checking a bit earlier, and the map still hasn't been updated. But the interesting thing was that at the end of November, when it was last analyzed, all of Nova Scotia was in some form of drought. Whether it be, in the Halifax area, it was considered a moderate drought, which was obviously an improvement, but much of the valley and around the Fundy region was still in an extreme drought, and a good chunk of the province was either in severe or moderate drought. So that is still a concern, obviously, because we really did turn a corner at the end of October and November, where we've had, quite an active pattern with, a decent amount of rain, and we've had some snow too, but obviously we were in such a deficit that we really need, normal monthly precipitation and then some for multiple months to really kind of make up for that extreme and for some exceptional drought that was, analyzed in the summer and into the fall. So it'll be interesting to see what the monitors are showing in the latest update. The river levels seem to be closer to normal or have at least recovered somewhat. But obviously the concern at this time of year with these rainy systems moving through is that the ground for the most part has been frozen. So a lot of that just ends up running off, or it doesn't absorb as easily. So you run into obviously issues where if we're getting rain, well, you might think that's helping, but if it's just running off, then it's not really helping replenish those water tables.
No.
So, whether you love or you hate the snow, it would probably be beneficial to have a decent snowpack set up for the second half of this winter, just so that when we go into the spring and we get that melt, that it's, it seeps into the ground to help out with this drought. Because while I do think, or I hope at least it will be an improvement, I do think for some this could be a lingering issue into the spring, and then obviously where we go from there, well, if we can make up further for the precipitation in the spring, perhaps we get back to a decent point. But if we see challenges in the spring and into the summer, obviously we don't want to end up back in the situation that we were. So that is a bit of a concern going into the seasons ahead of us. And like I said, hopefully by Friday when we're talking, this map will be updated.
All right, I will park that then and ask you about that more on Friday. But we mentioned the freeze-thaw cycles a bit earlier, and God, it's brutal on the roads and the sidewalks, and it even impacts homes. Do you know why we're seeing so many of them in recent years, and are they becoming more common, or does it just seem that way?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's not uncommon to have a January thaw. It's kind of a bit of a well-known phenomena across Canada, or phenomenon, I should say. But obviously, with how our climate is changing, especially given, ocean temperatures are warmer and they're warmer into the start of the winter than they used to be in years past, we are obviously typically seeing warmer than normal temperatures during our spring season. Now, this December was a bit of an exception where it was actually cooler than normal across, much of Canada, and including Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada. But we are seeing more. I think I would classify it not necessarily it becoming more common, although I do think we are seeing it certainly showing up more than, say, prolonged cold snaps. I would say we're seeing less cold extremes. The record lows are all dating back into the 50s, 60s, 70s. When I'm looking at the records now, but these record highs that are coming in, even though we haven't really been breaking any temperature records so far this year, they're all more recent, 90s, 2000s, and, in towards present time is when these record highs are showing up. So what I think we're seeing is obviously the January thaw has been occurring and will continue to occur, but I think what we are seeing is temperatures getting warmer than what we used to in previous in past years.
All right, listen, before we let you go, Allister, do we have something brewing for Friday?
So it did look like earlier, at least in the later half of the weekend, in the start of this week, that perhaps there could be a storm system. What I'm seeing right now is that it doesn't look like the energy is going to come together as what the models had first predicted. We have a system coming through Thursday with rain and mild temperatures, and as that moves towards the northeast, it's not really able to phase with this offshore energy like the models had been trying to predict. So it does look like we are really spared the system for the most part. Looks like a chance of some showers to flurries with falling temperatures on Friday, but in terms of needing shovels, plows, or snow blowers, it looks like, at least based on the current data, that we shouldn't need them.
All right. Meteorologist Allister Aalders, thank you so very much, and we'll chat again on Friday to get some more information on the weekend as we move forward. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Lisa. See you Friday.
All right, take care. It is 12:57, and that does it for us for today. Thank you all so very much for spending a part of your day with us. Thanks to our guests for the conversations, and to everyone who called in during the open hour to share their time and perspective. Coming up tomorrow, we've got, some conversations about nonprofits and boy, they're really hustling to save affordable housing in Nova Scotia. So we're going to have a conversation about that with Nick Russell from Rooted. And also the Whale Sanctuary Project. Apparently they need $15 million to open by the end of the summer. We're going to speak more about that as well. So thank you so much to producer Vanessa Vendenes for keeping everything running smoothly behind the scenes. I'm Lisa Blackburn, and again, thank you for spending part of your day with us on News 95.7. Let's do it again tomorrow, shall we?